This is the Nathan, Nat and Shaun podcast.
Continuing in our series of people we interview who Ross monopolises.
Yeah, I'll be all over this one.
Welcome to the show, Tim Curtis, who has literally written the book on building resilient kids. It's a book called Building Resilient Kids.
No mucking around with the title there, Tim.
Tim, welcome.
It does what it says on the outside of the can.
Right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Let me kick things off if you don't mind, guys.
Wait, Ross, do you have a question?
Oh, just a
Father
couple.
of two young children.
Yeah. I've got a 5 and a 2-year-old. But firstly, in your book, you discuss the biology of growing brains during formative years and how it impacts our kids. Can you give me the cheat sheet, please?
Are you asking for a friend, Ross?
Yes. A friend called Ross.
Desperate friend.
Well, incredibly important. In actual fact, about 25 to 40% of our kids' resilience is inherited or heritable.
Okay.
So we've got to put the effort in as parents, biological parents, before we even think about having kids. The healthier we are pre-conception, at moment of conception and beyond, the healthier our kids will be.
That ship's sailed. I need help now.
Do you mean physical health when you say that?
Absolutely.
Okay.
So, you think about this. We want fathers to be as healthy as they possibly can, mothers to be as healthy as they possibly can. And then when the baby is in utero, we want mum to not be drinking, not to be smoking, not, of course, to have exposure to any toxins. Because of that, that can be transferred through to the child. So in order to give our kids the best head start early. It's actually never too early to start. It's also not too late to start.
Sure.
But yeah, that's kind of important. Does that answer your question, Ross?
Yeah. I mean, I'm past that stage and I've got more questions in a sec, but I'm going to let you guys jump in before I go them again.
Well, I mean, resilience is the buzzword at the moment. So it seems to be... Is it that we're just discovering it, or is it that the latest generations are lacking it for some reason, and what do you put that down to if that's the case?
Yeah, I don't think it's fair to say that this generation aren't as tough as we were. They're certainly exposed to far more complexity than we were. Talking to Shawnee before we came on air about his upbringing, it involved cricket sets, footballs, bikes and creeks and outdoors. Well, we're seeing less of that now because our kids are more absorbed in the information age. We can digress onto screens. But we know that absolutely carries a lot. We want our kids to have outdoor play, to be involved with multiple ages, like you were, Shaun, that they can therefore learn to regulate, they can resolve conflict without an adult being there. But also importantly, the role of risky play. We want our kids to understand the consequences of playing in environments where there's a downside.
So risky play, climbing trees, for example, that kind of thing. Like where there's a risk assessment, like I might hurt myself if I do this, or last time I tried this, I hurt myself, so maybe do it a different way. That's the processing you want kids to do. From what ages are you talking? You talking send them up a tree from whenever they can walk or whenever they want to?
As young as we possibly can. We want our toddlers to sit in their emotions. Let me give you an example on that. When we see the toddler tantrum, they've closed their eyes and maybe they open one eye to see what parent care.
Everyone in the supermarket's looking at you.
Don't intervene. Allow them to sit in that emotion, to recognise that emotions do pass. They're time-bound because of our neurochemistry, but also there's things that they can do to emotionally regulate. So we can start that early. And then, when our waddlers start to move around the house, we want them to understand this dynamic that they live in. What is this thing that I'm inside?
So don't put padding on the coffee table and bump into it.
Well, you think about the true consequences. Let's rewind the clock to the 1980s. We grew up in environments where people had broken arms, broken legs all the time.
Yeah, literally all the time. Well, no, I broke all my bones as an adult. Yes, I know what you're saying.
Well, think about how many kids we now see with broken arms, broken legs. I'm not saying go break some arms or legs, but it's probably a little qualitative indicator that they're not doing enough risky play. And in actual fact, the downside of risky play is low. There's more chance that a child will be injured in organised sport than there is playing outdoors. So allow them to have that opportunity. They build agency as well. And maybe one more example. Think of the long monkey bars, not the little ones we now see in playgrounds, but the ones that are 15 or 20 feet long. There's a lot of mindset to get on the set of monkey bars. There's a bit of physical coordination. There's mind-body connection. And if your little brother gets further than you,
because the competitiveness come out.
That's right.
There's so much power in that outdoor and risky play. And what's the consequences of falling off the monkey bars? not much.
No.
Tim, one of the things that's been going around for many years, I think we might be coming to the light, so to speak, and that is when schools decided around the universe that everyone had to be a winner. And there was no
gets
losers.
a prize.
Everyone gets a prize. Everyone gets a medal.
Pass
everyone
the parcel
gets
is ruined.
Yeah,
Care award.
yeah. Do you feel like we're coming out of that? And there's plenty of downsides in that behaviour.
Definitely. Well, let me speak to the research on it. It shows that we need to let kids fail. In actual fact, this trend where every child gets a blue ribbon or a trophy, everyone must have a certificate of commendation when at school. Well, life doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
It's actually degraded the relationship between parents, carers and educators because there's an expectation that every kid succeeds.
Yes.
But when they finally get to a moment in time, maybe it's that latter high school years where scores do matter, maybe it's beyond that, parents start asking, well, hang on a sec, little Johnny, little Janie got a certificate for mathematics and now you're telling me that they failed.
Yes.
We actually want our kids to struggle. And in actual fact, the research out of Stanford by Professor Carol Dweck shows that that builds a growth mindset. And in longitudinal studies, kids that persevere, let me say that in a different way, that fail, then learn the lessons and grow as a result of the failure, have better life outcomes.
Wow.
Nathan, Nat, and Shaun podcast.
Sorry, Shawnee.
You go, mate.
I got a long
hard.
list.
Go hard, mate. It's the opportunity of a lifetime. Let's go.
What's something parents can do day to day to help teach resilience? Like my son, he loses his mind when he's not doing a drawing perfectly. He'll scrunch up the paper. He'll blame himself if he makes an accident, makes someone upset, that kind of thing.
You got to stop smacking him when he makes a mistake, Ross. I mean, it's full on. Or cutting him? What do you do?
Can you imagine?
Once again, help.
Well, first on Shawnee's point, corporal punishment doesn't work.
Thank you. There
We
you go,
do
Shaun.
now know that the smacks we got as little kids, the wooden spoon my mother used to break over my backside, deservedly so, by the way, they don't improve the outcomes for our kids, so let's not do that. But what we can do is allow them to struggle a bit with whatever they're doing, but ensure they do it in a space that's caring and loving. Like ultimately, the most important foundational factor for our youngest of kids is that they know they're in an environment of love and care and support. And then that builds the confidence for them too. Have a go at that drawing, fail a little bit, and know that mum and dad won't judge them, blame them, or say that's not good enough. And in actual fact, it does come back to the struggle. Allow them to struggle a little bit. Don't do the helicopter parenting thing where you just zoom in to fix the drawing or zoom in to take the lunchbox to school because the teenager's forgotten it.
Yeah, right.
Allow them the consequences. And if I was to, here we are in beautiful Perth, if I was to give you an analogy there, be like the lifeguard. The role of the lifeguard is not to prevent the swimming, it's to prevent the drowning.
Yeah.
So allow them to swim to the point where you think, no, the consequences now are a bit too profound. I need to assist the child.
Tim, I read recently, I listened to a podcast actually where they talked about it, then I read into it a bit more. The Danish approach. Are you familiar with the Danish approach to raising children? So they get given knives and learn how to whittle when they're 3, Shaun. Three. They're allowed to. They do cooking. They play with fire.
Yeah.
They climbing trees. They get an axe and learn how to chop wood, because what it does is it gives them the autonomy and the responsibility. And the other thing that they do is they give them an alarm clock when they're 5, say, and you don't get up until that alarm clock goes off, and that keeps everybody happy. Both the kids are excited that they have that autonomy over their own life, and the parents are excited because the kids aren't getting up in the middle of the night and saying, "Entertain me." It's and the proof is that the kids are happier.
Well, that's research based, not just in the Danish studies, but more broadly. You want our kids to succeed at the earliest of age, give them chores. And a lot of what they're doing there is chore related.
Yeah, that's right. They're helping out with the household,
Absolutely. They believe they can make a contribution to this concept called a team, even if it is their family unit at home. They feel like they're making something meaningful by way of that contribution, but also they're recognising that they need structure and discipline. In order to get through things, we're teaching them actually skills from when they when they transition out of their teen years into the workforce. That actually work ethic counts for a lot. Intrinsic motivation counts for a lot. Extrinsic motivation Not so much.
Not so much, yeah. Amazing, yeah. Tim, we should just check, how are your kids? Do they go, oh, Dad's trying to build our resilience again? Is there a bit of that going on?
Well, actually, even though building resilient kids is based on research I've interviewed widely, there's a bit of my kids' stories in that.
Yeah.
And actually also my failings as a parent.
Yeah.
And I say that genuinely.
Well, no parent is perfect either. This is a thing. You're like, it's a learning process. There's really, I mean, we say there's no manual. There kind of is because you've written it. But
Ross is holding it up.
But everybody's kind of going on their experience from when they grew up and adapting it and, trying to roll with the punches as they go. They're doing the best they can, but, there's always other information you can take on.
Doing the best they can with what they've got, and that's all we can expect parents to do. Coming back to my beautiful kids, nearly the same ages as yours, actually, Shaun, they have grown up to be healthy, kind and happy. And I think that's all we really want.
Yeah, absolutely. That's right.
But it wasn't me that was investing in that. And I'd say genuinely that for 15 odd years, I invested in myself with this professional selfishness.
Yeah.
I look at Shaun a little bit on this, thinking I'm really doing this SAS thing for the family.
To provide for the family without being present.
That's right. That's not true. And I'm not blaming the SAS regiment. It's an incredibly addictive place to be where it can only be about you and your teammates, and it therefore performs wonderfully
like
well.
a football team.
Like a football team, exactly.
The parallels are actually uncanny, aren't they?
But on the downside of your 6, 7 or 8 months away, there is an impact on family.
Yeah, for sure.
So I think we want to oscillate. We want to create that balance. And in actual fact, if you listed the most important things in your life, most listeners would say, it's family, it's family, it's family. Now show me the calendar that's proving that.
Yeah.
And even if it is 5, 6, 7, 8 months away, even if it is a FIFO lifestyle, how are you reinvesting in the little things when you have that moment?
Yes.
That your first day back isn't out with your mates, it's spending time with your kids and your partner.
On that, I've reflected a lot about this, Tim, more recently, and that is that a lot of times I'm there, but I'm not actually there because I can be distracted with the best of them.
You're present in the house, but not actually.
And not present in the moment.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we could all work on. But, I found myself trying to make sure that I'm spending as much time with the kids as possible. But, I can,
we can
that
be
connection.
better.
Yeah.
And, of course, the last thing we want to do is use our screens as some weird child-minding apparatus.
It's so easy. It's so convenient. It's right there.
We all do it, but we know
sometimes you've got to get the job done.
Not saying never do it,
No, I
clearly,
know.
but if it's habitual, if you always hand the screen to the child, we know that's not going to create any resilience in that kid.
Get them in the kitchen chopping the vegetables.
Absolutely. Have them participate in the chore of eating well as a family. And in actual fact, the labels don't help either. If we start those little things like nutrition early on, if our kids are chopping vegetables, helping with the cooking, we sit down and eat together, they don't grow up thinking this is nutrition.
No.
It's just exactly what we do. Come back to the earlier point. It's never too early to start.
Yeah.
The other little tip that was given to us by the great Hamish Blake is embrace the digital sunset. At 6 p.m, everyone put their devices on charge.
And that's everyone. Lead by example. Yeah.
In the kitchen, away from the bedrooms, and from that moment in time, interact.
Yeah.
We know that this is highly beneficial.
Shaun, go home tonight and tell that to your kids and see what happens.
Again, coming back, my wife will go off of me and I'm saying, well, I'm reading stories for tomorrow's work. But the thing that happens then, right, and I notice this a lot around our house, there'll be some quiet times and then out of nowhere, one of the kids will start engaging with you and telling you stories they wouldn't have, because you get in the car, right, you pick them up, particularly when they get teenagers. I was reading that you don't have to ask, because I used to go, how's your day, mate? Stuff, and you get the, yep, good, no, and it's one word answer.
But they're still decompressing from the day then too, on the way home, and they're hungry.
No, 100% Nat. And so in those times where you get to 6 o'clock and you decide that that's a rule, eventually they're going to get bored of the silence. And then there's going to be real communication about what happened in the day. This person was funny. What do you think about that? And it happens regularly at our household in that respect, although we don't do it enough in that way. But
But when you leave that space, it happens.
You've got to create the space. And the space doesn't get created if you allow them to look at screens. And the space, Shaun, doesn't get created unless you set the boundaries on where are you stopping the research for this morning's show in order to be involved in their little lives, so that you are open to them telling you things that have happened today. Good, bad, and indifferent. We don't want to be judging these situations.
By the way, you can use what they tell you as stories for the show. They're going to tell you some good stuff. Tim's book is called Building Resilient Kids. Tim Curtis is the author. And also you're on an episode of The Good Enough Dad with our friend Maggie Dent. You're the episode after Shaun.
I know, there's a reason for that, Shaunie.
Yeah, because things get better.
Yes, they do, Tim. They do.
Thanks so much for coming in, Tim. Ross has got the your book and he's not letting go of it.
I'm ready. Thank you. What's your number, by the way?
Don't give it to him.
It's on the inside cover.
Don't give it to him.
Nathan, Nat and Shaun is a Nova podcast. For more great comedy shows like this, head to novapodcasts.com.au. Nova.